Hi, my name is Emily Moore, and this is Module 1 of EDL 854, Communicating Who You Are. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Kansas. I have 4 siblings, and then I have one niece, and that's a picture of her on the right. Um, in all of my spare time, I love to go and spend time with her. Um, I went to Sterling College, McPherson College, and currently I'm a 5th grade teacher. I also work part-time at a girls' home, which is really fun, just here in Hutchinson. And in my spare time, I love to use my Cricut and try to be crafty. A little bit about my education and teaching history. I always knew I wanted to work in education. I went to Sterling College where I got my elementary degree, and then I also got my special ed in K-12. Um, Following that, I got my ESL endorsement through McPherson College and continued to get my master's in curriculum and instruction. Um, I have recently decided to get the building leadership endorsement through Fort Hays. And this is my 5th year teaching 5th grade, and I've taught at the same school all 5 years. Our school is currently in the redesign process. This last year, we actually went through the process of um, finding our 3 goal areas and getting approved for launch, which we were approved for this fall. And that was a really fun process. I actually got to be a co-pilot in that. So we are just getting started implementing those goal areas and things in our school. So that's been really fun and challenging all at the same time. A little bit about the district that I work in. I work for Hutchinson USC 308, and we have 7 elementary schools, a middle school for 7th grade, a middle school for 8th grade, and then of course one high school. The elementary that I work at is Lincoln Elementary. It's a Title I school. There's about 250 students. We have 2 classrooms per grade. We're 100% free and reduced lunch, and our students just have lots of trauma, so that is pretty challenging at times. And again, we are in the redesign process this year. So after reading those 4 articles, there were 10 things that really stuck out to me. The first thing is that approximately 48% of school budgets come from state resources, including income taxes, sales taxes, and fees. I just found that interesting. I'd never really put a lot of thought into the school budget, so when you really see where that comes from, it just is really eye-opening. And then continuing on, that another 44% is contributed locally, primarily through property taxes. So I found that also pretty interesting. And then that last 8% is the federal resources, with the emphasis on grants for specific programs. And that next point talks about those programs: Title I, English language acquisition, Reading First, IDEA, Improving Teacher Quality Grants. So just seeing, thinking about those budgeting is just really eye-opening. I guess I've never put that much focus and thought into that. Another point would be that attendance, when listening to that TED Talk and talking about the importance of attendance for schools, and it's how a lot of funding is received. I found that interesting, and then it made me really think about the school that I work at, and our numbers of attendance and kids coming to school, and just year to year how that really affects us. And then on this page, each state has its own formula for how funding for schools is collected and allotted. In most states, local property taxes make up the majority of funding, which I said above. But I also just find it interesting, it varies from state to state, and how things are budgeted also varies. Number 6, This is kind of a focus more on the principal's role, and how that role has changed. And some of those duties of a principal would be understanding the financial limitations and flexibility of the school, um, approving and revising the school budget, which is really interesting because when I think about like my current um, administrator, I'm sure she's dealing with that all the time, but that's something that we really don't see. Reviewing and analyzing income on a regular and analyzing income on a regular basis. Um, Again, I'm sure she's doing that, but I don't see it all the time. And then ensuring that resource allocation follows the school development plan, understanding that the school incomes must be handled in accordance with relevant requirements, regulations, and rules, organizing the controls of the budgets, and reporting the use of school funds to the relevant parties. So those are just financially, when you're talking budgets, the role of the principal. And I'm sure there's even more than that. And when I think about that, I just think about all the things that an administrator has to do. And then on top of that, well, let's add the budget. So again, things I just haven't really thought about. So it was really eye-opening to read those things. Point 7, many school leaders struggle with grasping the scope of their responsibilities and liabilities when it comes to accounting and finance. In fact, there was a recent study showing that a worrying majority of principals and administrators lacked financial literacy and a basic knowledge of bookkeeping. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what I was talking about above. I think that it's probably huge that when people take on this role that they don't understand this responsibility or realize that this huge responsibility that they have. So I think it's important that we're learning that. Studies show providing principals with flexibility can better align spending with school priorities. After all, principals typically know what's best for their students, and effective leaders have been shown to have a substantial effect on student learning. That really stuck out to me as well. And I love how it says that principals typically know what's best. And I think as a school principal, that's really important to know the needs in your school. And which takes me to 9, that those state legislators need to recognize that they know that, and give them more control over those spending decisions. And now it's there's no better time now than to do that. So that also was eye-catching to me. And then last, principals should have a detailed budget and oversee fundraising. I thought that was interesting. I don't know that we see the budget. I know when we talk about things that we need, and that budget's brought up, but not necessarily all the time. And then I think of fundraising and probably the lack of, and there's probably much more opportunity to increase money, and so that was an eye-opening point to me as well. So when thinking about my principal at my school, and things that I've seen her do, things that I have not seen, it was really fun to reflect on that. So I always see, what I do see is that when we do ask for things, or she knows that we need something, she's always like pulling up a chart, like this is where funding can go. And I didn't realize how much control there was over that, of like what she can spend her money on. So she always has to fit the things that we need in a certain category. And so that's what I see the most, is like, yeah, we can use this budget for that, or this funding for that. So I see that I've seen that quite a bit. And so that shows me that she does have an understanding of the budget, and what she's allowed to do with the budget that she does have. I've also seen how she doesn't have a lot of control over that, and that our school district and the board really takes is in control of all of that. I've also noticed how helpful like our secretary is, and the importance of that relationship with our principal, and how much she takes on with the budget as well. Things that I have not seen, like I said before, I don't know that she reviews the budget with us. We don't really have much of an idea of what we do have to spend. And again, she doesn't have much control of the funding because the board and administration is in control of that. And then, like I kind of mentioned previously, there's really not a lot of fundraising happening. And I think that maybe that could be something that we or get better at in our school. So when I think about being in charge of a school budget as a future leader, I am grateful for this course because I think it's going to help me become more aware of different situations and responsibilities that I'm going to have. But some concerns would be that that I have would be providing for my teachers, making sure that they have what they need, and but also being as fair as I can be with teachers. I think this is very common in schools, and I see this a lot now. Just making sure that they have what they need, and that I allocate that money to the right places. There's funding, but am I using that money for the right things, and using it to the best that it can be used? I also think that a concern would be making a mistake, and with that, like managing the budget, and am I doing it correctly? I think there's always going to be a fear of doing something wrong. And then when using that money for professional development, making sure that money is being used in a practical way, because I've seen that not used in a practical way as well. So just being smart with those resources. And then again, appropriate things and needed things, and things that are going to better will help the staff and give better learning for our students. And then just understanding all parts of the financing. I think that there's a lot that goes into it. And so a concern for me would be just making sure that I have an understanding of exactly what's happening with the finances, and how to use them. So here are the references for each of the resources that I used in this presentation. I'm excited to get to know each of you and to continue this course together. Thank you.